Welcome back to another video at the Capital Traders Group. In this video, I will go through how I use confirmation entries to first find setups with a high probability of playing out in my favor, and secondly, I'll be going through fractals and how we can actually use them to our advantage to increase our win rate further and also add to our risk to reward without adding any further exposure or risk to the markets. So why don't I go ahead and explain what confirmation entry is. So I want to basically explain that briefly. So say we're in a on a higher time frame, say we're on the 4 hour, right? We're on the 4 hour and we have we're in a bullish trend, okay? Say price pushes up from this level, okay, on the 4 hour. And we see some sort of corrective structure playing out, okay? And I want to look for price to come back within my zone before I want to see the next impulse, right, to the upside. But rather than just leaving a limit order, which I know some traders can do, and if it's your system, that's fine. But what a confirmation entry, in essence, would be is you wait for price to come back within that zone, right? Come back up, break structure to the left, right? Shows you that bulls are now starting to get back in charge. Then what you want to do is you want to wait for a smaller correction on the lower time frames, and this is what you refer to as fractal. And then you want to look for an entry within that refined zone rather than having a limit order and say put your SL below the previous zone. You'd put your SL here and you'd enter here to target the highs, right? Increasing your RR vastly if price pushes up within that region, and you increase the probability of the move because you've waited for confirmation. You've waited to see that buyers, you waited to see a bullish reaction from your zone, and then to see a break of structure, so showing that buyers are now starting to get in charge, and then a slower push in momentum, so showing that sellers are decreasing or slowing down, giving you the confirmation to for the move to take place, and secondly, refining your zone vastly. Okay, so again, you can't take this zone, take this type of confirmation entry on the 4 hour. This leg would be the 4 hour. So because on the 4 hour, what you would see is something like this, right? You'd have wicks, right? Say this is the zone, you'd have a wick, and then the next wick would probably be to the 50% level, and then you see the next push up. So what you would do is you would scope down to say the 15 minute, right? And then you'd wait for that reaction from price to break structure, and then you see that full candle, those full candle confirmations of the extreme of your level to then see that break of structure and then enter using these confirmations, right? And basically, I found a good definition on Google of what fractal is. So a fractal is a type of mathematical shape that are infinitely complex. In essence, a fractal is a pattern that repeats forever, and every part of a fractal, regardless of how zoomed in or zoomed out you are, it looks very similar to the whole image. Fractals surround us in many different aspects of life, and this rings very true for trading. All right, fractal patterns repeat themselves, whether it's on the 4 hour, the 15 minute, the 5 minute, or even the 1 minute. Okay, they are very, very repetitive, and understanding fractals and using them as confirmations, right, can refine your trading and give you much better premium high probability setups that have a much increased probability of playing out in your favor, also at the same time increasing your reward. So why don't we go ahead and get into a couple examples of some setups I've taken in the past week. So I'm going to go through Euro USD. Now this actual setup I shared in the public Telegram group for free. So I shared it with them with everyone for free. And basically what I was anticipating is price to come back within this level, mainly because it broke structure from this point. It left liquidity on the left here, right, to target. So I knew price was going to likely at least come back within this zone to target this liquidity. If I just scope that out for you guys, to target the liquidity above. So what I was going to wait for, this was the plan, right? I was going to wait for price to come within my zone, wait for some sort of reaction, break a structure, and then correction, and then push up. And that's where I'd ideally look to enter with stops below. Now, let's say a limit order trader. Now, they would likely just place a limit order within this zone. They may refine it, right? Take a limit order and then target the liquidity, right? Which is a 2.5 R. Personally, I wouldn't take this trade because my system does not allow me to take a position that is less than 3 R. So I wouldn't I wouldn't be able to take this trade. But if I use fractal confirmation, what I would do is I'd scope down on the lower time frames, right? Let's scope on the 15-minute. Now what I would do is I understand that this is a pivotal point that I'm likely going to see a reaction from, but to take out that liquidity above here. So now I want to wait for some sort of reaction and then a confirmation, right? So let's wait and see. So now price has given me some sort of reaction, but it's very minuscule. It's on the lower time frames. But let's scope down and let's see what price actually did. This is very important. So I'm going to give you some free gems here. What price does is very important. So what does it do? On the lower time frames, it takes the high, right? So that's the BOS. But what does it do after that? It then takes the low, right? This is done to confuse traders. Now, this is something I teach in terms of entry protocols, so I'm not going to go too in depth with it, but it's something that you can very well implement in your trading. But it's basically when price takes out the high and then the low, and then when it takes the next high or the low, that's the direction price wants to move. This is done to confuse retail traders, but you can use it into advantage. So it's a good type of manipulation. Because we're favoring that bullish reaction from the zone on the high time frames, to target that liquidity on the 4-hour, I would, what my game plan for this setup is price push up, right? Give me some sort of correction, and then I'd look to enter for price pushes up again. Now the thing with this now, the reason I wouldn't wait for price to come all the way back down is because with these type of setups where it takes the high and the low, price doesn't always correct itself. It usually just pushes off in one direction because price has already taken the liquidity, it's hunted all the liquidity it wants, and it's ready to push up aggressively. If you backtest this, you'll understand that. So what I would do is I would set a limit order here, or I would just wait, right, for my entry to trigger. Because what price could also do, it could do some trickery. It could just come up, right, just shy of the zone and then push down, then take the low, and then we would be bearish, okay? So that's why I preferably like to wait. And if I was going to take this setup, I'd place my stops just below here. You could have it refined, but again, I like more conservative SL because I trade with size. I would place my SL below, which is about 22 pips. Again, if I was the limit order trader, right, my SL would be about 55. It would be almost 3 times my current SL. So just by doing that, I'm waiting, I'm being patient for the probability of the move to play, right? And secondly, I've refined my zone vastly. Now, where I would target this zone is the liquidity on the 4-hour, right? I'm looking to target the liquidity, those equal highs there, right? So let's see what price does on the scope down. Again, right, we've seen the high, the low taken, we've seen a bullish reaction. Let's see what price does. Right, now we've seen some sort of consolidation. Again, a bit of trickery, right? But what is it showing me price is doing? It's showing me that price is not ready to push down, right? It's showing me that sellers are slowing down and buyers are starting to step in. But we can't confirm that yet because it hasn't taken this high on the left yet. So let's wait. There you go. What does price do? Right, let's scope in on the 1 minute. What does price do? It takes the high, right, pushes up and then pushes right back within the level precisely of this high, right, retests it and then takes off. Again, right, any other traders would maybe refine their zone down here, but I am a more conservative trader, so I like to place it down below the previous invalidation point, and then look to see where price pushed up on the higher time frame. So let's go on the 5 minute, right, and there we go, right? Now simple, what was previously a 2.5R is now a, right, which is previously 2.5R is now a 6.3R roughly. So I have 3 times my reward. I've also been more patient and waited for the move to play out, which is increasing the probability of my bias being correct because I've waited for confirmations. And it played out in my favor with a much larger risk to reward. So I would have earned a much better return with this setup just by using a confirmation entry. Okay, so that is one example. I'm going to use another example. Now in this example, I'll be going through GBP USD. GBP USD is, I took this trade about a couple weeks ago. Now on the high time frames, right, what do you see on the monthly time frame? Now you might have heard this on the news, depending on how up close you guys are on fundamentals, but basically in about about in September, right? We broke the 1985 lows of the pound, right? So pound has broken and come to all-time lows. It never broke these lows before. Now, from after this liquidity was swept, what I was anticipating is a bullish reaction. But again, what I wanted to see was a breaker structure correction, and then I can look for a structure a long to come within this region in here, right? And this is on the higher time frames, okay? Because again, this is GBP, right? This is the one of the oldest economies of England, okay? It's the Great British Pound. It's not like crypto; it's not going to go to zero. So after it swept the low and the mass fear it was induced into the market, I knew it was very probable of a long to take place. So let's go up down the lower time frames. Now I'm on the 4 hour. Let's get rid of this. On the 4 hour, what do we see? Let's look on the left, right? We see a break of structure, right? So we're showing buyers are now starting to push in charge. Now this was my interest region here. Okay, let's make that blue. Right. Now, if you guys want me to make a separate video on how and why I choose certain demand zones or how to filter out demand and supply zones, let me know in the comments below. I can make a separate video on that, going through that briefly. Again, guys, I do teach these concepts much more in depth in terms of how to actually use price action data to trade profitably consistently over a long-term period. As I've been using these concepts over 5 years, refining and using them within my own system. But in essence, what I was doing here was waiting for a reaction from here, breaker structure on the lower time frames now, because remember, we got it on the higher time frames, and this is the corrective structure. So I understood. Now I want to see the reaction from this on the lower time frames. Again, breaker structure, correction, and then push up, right? Wait for some sort of entry protocol within my level, and then take the long. Okay, very simple. So let's scope down to the 15-minute. Right. Now on the 15-minute, what do you see? We see this strong push down, right? On the 15-minute chart. So if I go here, we see a nice bearish reaction from this region, right? This is on the lower time frames, of course. So we have a nice supply. And if you're an intraday trader, you could very nicely at least look to target this zone here. Again, if I was going to target, if I was a swing trader, what I would be targeting, again, as I'm bullish, this is on a higher time frame, I'm going to be looking to target this 4 hour high, right? This liquidity needs to be swept. We've shown the buyers are now starting to become in charge. We've seen the correction. And if we get the confirmation, I will look to target this as a swing target, okay? So again, let's push back down. Let's wait to see what price does. So we've seen that nice bearish reaction. Let's see what price does. Right. So now push down. What do we see, right? Let's scope it out. We see this nice consolidation, this range, right? Accumulation, whatever you want to call it. Seen this accumulation, and then we see this manipulation, right? This push down, right? Let's mark this out red. This manipulation to trick traders that came right within our zone, right? You see this bit of head and shoulders pattern before you see this nice big bullish candle. Again, breaking structure on the left, showing me now bulls are likely to come in charge. So what do I want to do here? Again, I want to wait for some sort of correction before looking to take the long up. Again, I'm waiting for price to come to my discounted region to one, refine my region, and two, I've waited for the confirmation. So I've already seen that breaker structure. So I've gotten the confirmation I needed. Now I need to find an entry, okay? Because I understand the probability of price pushing up higher has increased because we have the higher time frame confirmation because of the trend, and now we have the lower time frame confirmation, okay? So now what I want to do, now if you haven't seen my previous video where I talk about how to refine zones and how to trade like a sniper, I believe that was called, I recommend you go check it out because I talk about this in depth. But basically what we see is a large imbalance, a price inefficiency. And if you remember from the last video, you understand that price will always fill these regions up. Now it won't always fill it to the full, but it will at least fill it to the 50% level, right? So it will at least fill it to here, right? It will at least fill it to the 50% level, okay? Now now you understand that, right? You could again just look for price to come within that region and then look to take a long. But what I would do is normally just to simplify it a little more, right? Understand the imbalance is there and it was likely going to get filled. I would just keep things very simple and look for an ABC pattern, right? Keep my wait for my retracement to a premium zone, which is around the 79% level, right? Because I want to see at least 50% of this level get filled in, right? So what do we see? Right, so prices come within this level. Now again, if you're a buy limit order type trader, I put my my entry here, my stops below the previous low, and I would look to target my extension, which is a nice 1 to 5, or I would look to price to come back within that previous supply region, right, where we could potentially see a nice bearish reaction from. So this would be a good way to target, and that's a 1 to 7.8R, right, just by waiting for that. Or we could refine this, or we could push down even lower, right? So price has now filled in our imbalance, okay? So now we've filled in that imbalance, so we can tick that off. Price doesn't need to come any lower, okay? So now what I want to do is I want to look for a confirmation on the lower time frames, right? What does price do? Let's investigate a little further, right? I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to try and be quick with this, right? So what does price do? It hasn't taken this high, right? Not yet. So we're going to leave this zone up here to keep an eye on, right? It did take this low here, right, to the left, but it hasn't taken the low either. So that is a good way to keep an eye on the range. But what I would do is I would keep an eye on these lower zones. So it's taken this high, so I understand that price is likely reacting from this one. Again, we're on the lower time frames. Remember, price is fractal. So I understand that the price is just reacting from this level. So let's see what price does. It's reacting, right? Now it's looking to come and target within this zone. It's showing nice bullish order flow, right? We've seen a reaction from this zone. It's very unlikely if we break this structure, price is going to come right back within this 4 zone. So let's wait and see what price does. Right. It leaves another liquidity point here, right? So we have liquidity to smash and target now. So what I would do is I would likely take my entry from this zone here, right? Because that's the low. But again, I wouldn't keep my SL below this low, again, because I'm more of a conservative trader. So I'd put my entry here, right? Because remember, there's liquidity left to smash in here, and it's very unlikely that price will come back to this zone. Remember, there's no imbalances left. Price is showing nice bullish order flow, so it's likely going to push up higher. But again, I would put my stop loss below this region just to be on the safe side. Again, I'm more of a conservative trader, and then place my target at the supply region. Sorry, my mouse is bugging. Right, at the supply region, and let's see watch what price does. Look, we see a nice reaction. What does price do? It comes off that zone, reacts perfectly off that zone, takes out the liquidity. At this point, I'd be break even, right? Very quickly, I'd be break even, and I'd look to take out partials, right? Depending on how you trade, and look for price to push within those higher zones. Again, right? We had that we had that power of 3 confirmation. We had that range, the manipulation, the intent, breaker structure. That's the correction, right? Price filled in that imbalance here, right? It filled in the imbalance, and on a lower time frame, it left liquidity and nice order flow. So allowed me to have a nice entry on the using fractal confirmation, and then we can let that price play out. Now, say I was a swing trader, right? Let's go on the 45-minute. Say I was a swing trader, okay? And I just let now I could target this supply region, which is fine, right? But say I was a swing trader, and again I was going to look to target the 4-hour highs. My target would be up there, and I could just take partials above without the zones, right? That would net me if it hit targets. Actually, let's see if it hits target. Price leaves a gap here, so that gap's going to fill, right, before likely pushing up higher. So you could take and probably look for another entry there, confirmation entry, right? That what does it do? It fills a gap and it starts pushing up higher. Oh, wait. It pushes down and comes back to this zone. So it fills in the gap, manipulates price, push down lower. You'd still be in, and then it pushes up higher. Okay, let's see how it plays. Let's fast forward a bit, and there you go. Now that it hits out, it hunts that liquidity perfectly, and now it offer a 27R position trade. So again, confirmation entries can be very, very useful to trade with. Again, they require a lot more patience. You are from time to time going to miss trades, but again, when you do hit them, or when everything does align, you can get these very nice setups. They're more rare, but they're very, very lucrative. And I do have a few traders with our mentorship program who trade solely using fractal and confirmation entries, and they are very profitable. So yeah, I hope you guys like this video. If you do want to get any insight in any of our program, links will be all in the description down below. I do share a lot of free setups on a weekly basis on our free Telegram group, so feel free to check that out, and please do like and subscribe. It will obviously let me know that you guys want to see more content like this, so I can upload more on a weekly basis. So do all the good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.